the greatest literary mystery ever. For over 600 years, a single book has remained an unbreakable enigma. A book filled with unrecognizable symbols, bizarre illustrations, and an unknown language that no one, not even the most brilliant code breakers, has been able to decipher. This book is known as the Voynich Manuscript, and it is, quite literally, a book that no one can read. The manuscript is unlike anything else from the medieval world. It has a script that resembles a real language, but every attempt to identify it has failed. It contains botanical illustrations of plants that don't exist, astronomical charts that don't match any known celestial maps, and diagrams of human figures immersed in strange liquid pools connected by tubes. Some believe the book holds forbidden knowledge, a lost medical or scientific text, perhaps describing an ancient understanding of medicine, alchemy, or even life itself. Others argue it might be an elaborate medieval hoax, carefully crafted to appear meaningful, while actually being nothing more than random symbols and meaningless gibberish. And then, there are those who believe that the Voynich Manuscript is something far more extraordinary, that it could be a coded message, a hidden piece of information that has been deliberately concealed for centuries, a lost language waiting to be unlocked, a message from a forgotten civilization, or perhaps a communication from beings that were never human at all. Regardless of what it is, one fact remains. No one has ever read it, and that is what makes the Voynich Manuscript one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in history. Its mystery has captivated scholars for centuries. Some of the greatest minds in history have tried to decipher it, including World War II codebreakers, linguists, historians, and even modern AI. Yet no one has been able to unlock its meaning. It has defied every attempt at translation. This book is an anomaly in the world of literature. Unlike other medieval manuscripts that contain known languages and clear references to history, the Voynich Manuscript stands alone, completely isolated from the rest of human knowledge. How is it possible that a book exists, but has no known origin, no known author, and no trace of its language in any historical records? It's as if it appeared from nowhere, carrying with it a language that was never spoken by any human civilization. For over a century, researchers have debated its origins. Was it written by an alchemist, a scientist, or a member of a secret society? Could it be the work of a single eccentric genius, trying to create an entirely new language? Or is it something even more mysterious, something we have yet to even begin to understand? The most fascinating aspect of the manuscript is its persistence through time. Despite being undeciphered, it has been carefully preserved for over 6 centuries. Whoever created it clearly wanted it to last. But why? If this book contains lost knowledge, what could be inside? Could it be a book of lost medicinal practices, filled with remedies for diseases that modern science has yet to cure? Could it be a map of the stars, showing celestial movements and cosmic knowledge long before modern astronomy? Could it contain an ancient form of encryption, meant to hide its knowledge from the uninitiated? Or is it something more sinister? Could it be a book of curses, an occult manuscript filled with rituals and spells? Some theorists have suggested that the reason no one can read the Voynich Manuscript is because it was never meant to be read by human eyes. And here's where the mystery deepens even further. What if we eventually decode it, and we don't like what it says? What if it contains knowledge that changes everything we know about history? What if it reveals secrets that were never meant to be uncovered? And what if the reason no one has been able to read it is because we were never meant to? In the coming chapters, we will explore the story of its discovery, the failed attempts to decipher it, and the incredible theories that attempt to explain what this book really is. But one thing is certain. The Voynich Manuscript is not just a book. It is a challenge, a riddle, a mystery that has outlived its own history. And until we decipher it, it will remain the greatest literary enigma of all time. The book that shouldn't exist. The Voynich Manuscript is an anomaly, a book that exists without an author, without a history, and without a readable language. But if no one can understand it, how did we even find it? The story of this mysterious manuscript begins in 1912, when a Polish-American rare book dealer named Wilfrid Voynich discovered it in the archives of the Collegio Romano, a Jesuit college in Italy. Voynich, an experienced collector of antique books and manuscripts, was searching for forgotten treasures, books of ancient knowledge that had been locked away for centuries. And then, in the dusty shelves of the college's library, he found a small, unassuming book with a weathered leather cover. At first glance, it looked like just another medieval manuscript. But when he opened it, he realized that he had never seen anything like it before. The pages were filled with delicate flowing script, a writing system that resembled a real language, yet contained no familiar words or recognizable patterns. Surrounding the text were hundreds of elaborate drawings, bizarre, intricate illustrations of unknown plants, strange star charts, and human figures interacting with mysterious tubes and pools of liquid. Something about the book felt different. Voynich, who had handled thousands of historical texts, instinctively knew that this manuscript was special. He was convinced that he had found a lost treasure of knowledge, perhaps a forgotten medieval scientific text, an alchemical manuscript, or a secret book of medical knowledge. But there was only one problem. No one could read it. Determined to uncover its secrets, Voynich took the book to some of the most respected scholars and linguists of his time. He believed that if they could decipher the writing, they might be able to identify its origins. But the more they studied it, the stranger it became. First, no one could recognize the language. It wasn't Latin, Greek, Arabic, or any known medieval dialect. It didn't resemble any existing written script. It was completely unique. Second, the book had no title, no introduction, and no author's name. There were no dates, no references to any known historical figures, and no connection to any other known text in history. It was as if the book had appeared from nowhere. Voynich believed the manuscript had once belonged to Holy Roman Emperor Rudolf II, a 16th-century ruler fascinated by the occult, alchemy, and secret knowledge. According to historical records, Rudolf paid 600 gold ducats, an enormous sum at the time, to acquire a mysterious book written in an unknown language. This suggested that the manuscript was already considered a mystery over 400 years ago. Even during the Renaissance, no one could read it. Further clues in the book's pages led historians to believe that it might have once been in the possession of John Dee, a famous English mathematician, astrologer, and alchemist. Dee served as an advisor to Queen Elizabeth I, and he had a deep interest in occult manuscripts and coded texts. If Dee or Rudolf II had owned the Voynich manuscript, this raised even more questions. Where did it come from before that? Who wrote it? And why was it passed from ruler to scholar, generation after generation, with no one able to decipher it? How old is the Voynich manuscript? For decades, researchers debated the age of the manuscript. Some believed it was written in the 1400s, while others thought it might be a forgery from the 1500s or even the 1600s. Then, in 2009, a team of scientists at the University of Arizona conducted radiocarbon dating on the vellum pages of the book. The results were shocking. The parchment was dated between 1404 and 1438, proving that the book was at least 600 years old. This meant that it was written before the time of Emperor Rudolf II, before John Dee, before Voynich himself. It was now certain. The Voynich manuscript was real. It was not a modern forgery. But this only deepened the mystery. If the book was written in the early 1400s, that meant someone in medieval Europe had created an entirely unknown writing system, filled with mystical imagery and scientific-looking illustrations, all while never revealing their identity. But why? Was this book meant to preserve secret knowledge, hidden in a language that only certain individuals could understand? Or was it designed to mislead and deceive? Who would have written a book in a script that no one else could read? And more importantly, why would they go through the effort of creating hundreds of pages of completely unique symbols? The problem with the Voynich script. Unlike other coded texts from history, the Voynich Manuscript does not resemble any known method of encryption. Most secret ciphers used by alchemists, monks, and scholars in the medieval period were based on existing languages, Latin, Greek, or Arabic, just rearranged or altered to hide their meaning. But the Voynich script is entirely unique. No other book in history contains this writing system. No one has found any examples of similar symbols used anywhere else. And every attempt to compare it to known alphabets has failed. In fact, some researchers suggest that the text follows a complex structure, meaning it is unlikely to be meaningless. Certain words appear more frequently, while others follow distinct patterns, just as real languages do. But despite this, no linguist or cryptographer has been able to find a way to translate it into anything meaningful. It's as if the book is written in a lost language, one that never existed in recorded history. What if we never solve it? The discovery of the Voynich Manuscript in 1912 was just the beginning. Over a century later, we are still no closer to understanding what it says. Every theory, every attempt to decode it, has led to dead ends. This raises an unsettling question. What if we are never meant to understand it? What if the Voynich Manuscript is not just an unsolved mystery, but an unsolvable one? What if the text inside is meant to remain hidden, its meaning forever locked away? Could this book contain lost knowledge, forbidden wisdom, or a secret that was never meant to be uncovered? Or is it all just an elaborate deception, an unbreakable code that leads nowhere? In the next chapter, we will open the pages of the Voynich Manuscript itself. We will examine its strange contents, explore the bizarre illustrations, and ask the ultimate question: what exactly is inside the Voynich Manuscript? Because the deeper we look, the stranger this book becomes. What's inside the Voynich Manuscript? The Voynich Manuscript is not just mysterious because of its unknown script. What makes it even stranger is what's inside. The book is filled with hundreds of illustrations, some of which resemble medieval scientific diagrams, while others seem like the work of a mind lost in a dreamlike world of the impossible. Scholars have divided the book into several sections, based on the types of images found on its pages. But while these divisions help us categorize its content, they do nothing to explain its meaning. What is the purpose of these pages? And what could the author have been trying to record? The more we examine the Voynich Manuscript, the less it makes sense. The botanical section. The largest section of the manuscript contains over 100 detailed drawings of plants. These illustrations include stems, leaves, flowers, and roots, yet none of these plants exist in the natural world. Some appear similar to real plants, but with exaggerated or altered features. Others are entirely alien, as if they were invented or remembered from a dream. For centuries, botanists have tried to match these drawings to known plant species. Some claim that the plants could be distorted versions of real herbs, drawn from memory rather than direct observation. Others suggest they might be medicinal plants from an unknown region, possibly from outside Europe. But there's a problem. If these plants don't exist, then what is the purpose of this section? Could this be a medieval book of fantasy plants? An herbal guide from a forgotten world? Or a coded representation of real plants, deliberately altered to hide their identity? Some researchers believe that this section may be an ancient medical guide, and that the plants are medicinal herbs, encoded in a way that only specific individuals could understand. Others have a more radical theory. What if the plants are not from Earth? The astronomical and astrological sections scattered throughout the manuscript are diagrams of the sun, moon, and stars. Some pages feature what appear to be constellations, while others contain circular symbols resembling astrological charts. But here's the problem. These diagrams don't match any known celestial maps from medieval Europe. Could this be a forgotten system of astronomy? One that was abandoned or lost before modern science took hold? Some of the symbols resemble medieval horoscopes, suggesting that this section might have been used for astrological readings. In the medieval period, astrology was often linked to medicine. Certain treatments were believed to work better under specific planetary alignments. If the Voynich Manuscript was an ancient medical text, could this section be a guide to healing based on the stars? Then there's the even stranger possibility. What if these are not Earth's stars at all? What if the Voynich Manuscript is a record of astronomical knowledge from another civilization, one that did not follow the same star charts we use today? Some theorists suggest that these diagrams could be maps of the night sky from a different hemisphere, or perhaps even from another world. Is it possible that the Voynich Manuscript contains a record of knowledge not meant for human understanding? The biological section, perhaps the strangest part of the Voynich Manuscript, is what scholars call the biological section. This part of the book is filled with drawings of naked human figures, mostly women, immersed in strange fluid-filled tubes and interconnected pools of liquid. The women appear to be interacting with organic, vein-like structures, almost as if they are floating through some kind of biological or alchemical process. What could this mean? Some researchers believe these images depict a medieval understanding of human reproduction and medicine. The tubes and pools might represent internal bodily systems, perhaps an early symbolic attempt to describe circulation, digestion, or fertility. Others believe that these images represent something far more mysterious. Could this be a depiction of an alchemical transformation? Was the author of the Voynich Manuscript trying to record some kind of unknown biological process, something that has been lost to time? Or is it possible that these figures are not human at all? Could they represent beings from another reality, another world, or even another dimension? This section of the Voynich Manuscript raises more questions than answers. No one knows why these images were included, what they mean, or who they were meant for. The pharmaceutical section. Another part of the manuscript contains drawings of small jars, vials, and plant parts, arranged in ways that suggest medicinal preparation or alchemical recipes. This has led some researchers to believe that the manuscript is a medieval medical book, possibly a guide to herbal remedies and treatments. But without understanding the text, we can't know for sure. If these are recipes, what are they for? Are they formulas for medieval medicine? Are they secret alchemical potions? Or could they be something even more extraordinary? Some theorists suggest that the Voynich Manuscript might be a guide to lost knowledge, an ancient attempt to record secrets of healing and transformation that were deliberately hidden from ordinary people. If that's the case, then who was this book written for? The text, an unbreakable code. Perhaps the most perplexing aspect of the Voynich Manuscript is its undecipherable text. Unlike other coded manuscripts from history, this book does not follow any known encryption techniques. The writing is fluid and structured like a real language, yet it does not match any known writing system. Modern analysis has shown that the words in the Voynich Manuscript follow natural language patterns. Certain words appear frequently, while others are structured in ways that resemble real grammar. This suggests that the text is not random gibberish, but despite over a century of attempts, no one has been able to translate a single sentence. Some of the most advanced AI models in the world have attempted to find patterns in the text, searching for connections to known languages. Some believe it could be a lost dialect of an ancient tongue, while others think it could be an invented language created by an unknown medieval genius. But then, there's the strangest possibility of all. What if the book is not meant to be read in a conventional way? What if the Voynich Manuscript is not a book at all, but something else entirely? Could it be a coded message, hiding secrets that were never meant to be understood? Or is it a book from another time, another place, or another world? As we continue our journey, we will explore the theories and failed attempts to crack this unbreakable code. Because the deeper we dive into the Voynich Manuscript, the more impossible its mystery becomes. Theories and attempts to decode the manuscript. For over a century, some of the greatest minds in history have attempted to crack the Voynich Manuscript's code. From military codebreakers to linguists, from computer scientists to AI, the book has been examined, dissected, and analyzed by experts from every field. Yet despite their best efforts, no one has succeeded. The more people study the Voynich Manuscript, the more baffling it becomes. Every attempt to translate it has failed. Every effort to link it to a known language has led nowhere. And every promising lead has only resulted in dead ends. Why? Why is this book so impossible to read? Could it be that the Voynich Manuscript is not just a difficult puzzle, but a deliberate mystery designed to never be solved? Early attempts to decode the Voynich Manuscript. As soon as Wilfred Voynich discovered the manuscript in 1912, he became obsessed with uncovering its secrets. He contacted linguists, cryptographers, and medieval historians, hoping that someone could recognize the language or writing system. But to his surprise, no one had ever seen anything like it before. Some of the first theories suggested that the book was written in a form of shorthand or encoded Latin, possibly a secret alchemical text. Others believed it might be a lost medical manuscript, written in a forgotten dialect. But no progress was made in translating even a single word. When Voynich died in 1930, the manuscript remained as mysterious as the day he found it. World War II. Codebreakers and military cryptographers. During World War II, the U.S. government assembled some of the world's best cryptographers experts in breaking secret codes used by the Axis powers. These were the same individuals who cracked Nazi ciphers, including the infamous Enigma machine. With their expertise, the military believed that if anyone could crack the Voynich Manuscript, it would be these top-tier codebreakers. For years, some of the greatest minds in cryptography analyzed the manuscript. They used statistical methods, frequency analysis, and code-breaking techniques used against the most advanced wartime ciphers. But despite their unmatched skill, they failed to decode even a single sentence. The text in the Voynich Manuscript did not behave like any known encryption method. It followed rules that resembled a real language, yet it had no direct connection to any known alphabet or cipher system. This left experts with two conclusions. The manuscript was written in a complex, unknown form of encryption that had never been seen before. The manuscript was not encrypted at all, but instead written in a completely unique language that no one on Earth had ever recorded. If the second theory was true, that meant the Voynich Manuscript might not be a code to break, but an entire language that needed to be learned from scratch. But if that were the case, then where did this language come from? Modern AI and machine learning attempts. With the rise of artificial intelligence, some researchers hoped that machine learning algorithms would be able to detect hidden patterns in the Voynich Manuscript's text. In 2018, a team of Canadian researchers ran the manuscript's text through an AI-driven language model, trying to match it to known languages. The AI suggested that the text might have been written in an early form of Hebrew, with the letters scrambled in an unknown pattern. Excited by this lead, the researchers attempted to reconstruct the original Hebrew words. They managed to piece together a few partial phrases, but the translation made no sense. The AI analysis was inconclusive. In 2019, another team of researchers proposed that the manuscript was written in a Proto-Romance language, an early European dialect that had never been formally recorded. But once again, the theory could not be fully proven. Every time it seems like we are getting close to understanding the manuscript, the mystery slips through our fingers. The patterns hidden within the text. Despite being unreadable, the text in the Voynich Manuscript does follow certain linguistic rules. Some words appear more frequently than others, suggesting an internal grammar structure. Certain letter combinations occur in ways that resemble real languages, rather than random gibberish. The text follows something called Zipf's law, a statistical rule that applies to natural languages. This suggests that the book was not written randomly. There is meaning behind the words. But without a key to understanding the script, we are left in the dark. The Voynich Manuscript is a real language, but one that no one on Earth can read. What if the book was meant to be deciphered in a different way? Most written languages are meant to be read visually, but what if the Voynich Manuscript was never meant to be read like a normal book? Some researchers have proposed that the text could be a phonetic language, meant to be spoken aloud rather than read silently. Others believe that the text might be a form of musical notation, hiding a secret song or chant that has been lost for centuries. Could it be possible that the manuscript is a coded form of oral tradition, meant to be understood through speech, music, or even movement? And if so, who was it meant for? A language from another world? As the Voynich Manuscript continues to defy translation, some theorists have proposed an even more radical idea. What if the book was not written by a human at all? Some researchers have suggested that the Voynich Manuscript could be a record of a lost civilization, one that vanished before modern history was recorded. Others believe it could be an extraterrestrial document, written in a language not from Earth. This theory is, of course, speculative, but it raises an important question. If a completely unknown, undecipherable language appeared in front of us today, how would we even begin to understand it? Would we dismiss it as nonsense? Or would we recognize that we had discovered something truly extraordinary? The frustrating conclusion. For over 100 years, scholars, cryptographers, and AI have tried to break the Voynich code, and they have all failed. The Voynich Manuscript remains what it has always been, a book that no one can read. But that doesn't mean we will never solve it. New technologies are being developed every year, and perhaps one day we will finally crack the code. But until that happens, the Voynich Manuscript remains an unbreakable riddle, a mystery frozen in time, and perhaps the most confounding book in human history. Is it a hoax? The skeptic's perspective. The Voynich Manuscript has puzzled scholars, linguists, and cryptographers for over a century. But what if the answer to this mystery is much simpler than we think? What if the book is not an ancient message, not a coded language, and not a forgotten scientific text, but a carefully constructed hoax? Could it be possible that the Voynich Manuscript is completely meaningless? Many skeptics believe the manuscript was never meant to be understood, that it is simply an elaborate deception designed to look like a mysterious book, but with no real content inside. If that's true, then who would create such a thing? And why? Let's explore the possibility that the Voynich Manuscript isn't a book of knowledge, but a fraud that fooled the world for centuries. The case for the Voynich Manuscript being a hoax. The biggest argument for the Voynich Manuscript being a hoax is simple. No one has ever been able to read it. In the 600 years since it was written, not a single person, not a scholar, not a linguist, not an AI, has been able to decode even a single sentence. This has led some researchers to believe that the book was never meant to be read in the first place. Many historical hoaxes were created to fool rich patrons, kings, and collectors. During the medieval period, rare books were highly valuable, and people would pay enormous sums for unique manuscripts. If someone created the Voynich Manuscript as a scam, it could have been sold to a wealthy nobleman as a book of secret knowledge. Since no one could read it, the buyer would never know they had been tricked. This idea becomes even more compelling when we look at the book's supposed history. Edward Kelly, a 16th-century fraudster. One of the most famous figures linked to the Voynich Manuscript is Edward Kelly, a 16th-century English alchemist and self-proclaimed medium. Kelly was known for claiming he could speak with angels and translate lost magical texts. He worked alongside John Dee, a mathematician and occultist, and the two convinced European nobility that they had access to divine knowledge. Many historians believe Kelly was a con artist, selling fake magical books to wealthy nobles. Some researchers have suggested that Kelly could have created the Voynich Manuscript himself as an elaborate hoax, possibly to trick a king or an emperor into paying for a book of secrets. This theory is supported by the fact that Emperor Rudolph II of the Holy Roman Empire, who was known to be fascinated by alchemy and the occult, was rumored to have paid 600 gold ducats for a mysterious book written in an unknown language. Could the Voynich Manuscript be that very book? If so, it means the entire mystery is nothing more than a brilliant medieval scam that fooled an emperor and continues to fool people today. The strange structure of the text. One of the biggest reasons why people suspect the Voynich Manuscript is a hoax is because of the way the text is written. The words look like a real language, but have no known meaning. The sentence structure follows no known grammatical rules. The book is extremely repetitive, with certain words appearing far more frequently than in natural languages. Some researchers argue that this is a sign that the text was deliberately crafted to look real, without actually containing any information. One famous hoax theory, proposed by Gordon Rugg, suggests that the book was created using a simple encryption trick, a table of nonsense syllables that were randomly combined to form fake words. If this theory is correct, it means that the Voynich Manuscript was created with the intent to deceive, and there is no hidden meaning inside the text at all. The case against the hoax theory. But not everyone believes the Voynich Manuscript is a hoax. Many experts argue that if it were fake, it would be far simpler and far less structured. The text in the Voynich Manuscript follows linguistic patterns that resemble real languages. Studies have shown that the way words repeat, the way letter combinations appear, and the structure of the sentences match known linguistic rules. This means that even if we don't understand it, the text was written with a purpose. If the Voynich Manuscript was random nonsense, it would be obvious under modern analysis. But every study suggests the opposite. The text has a hidden logic behind it. If it's a hoax, why did the creator go to such extreme lengths to make it appear like a real language? Why create over 200 pages of meaningless text filled with complex illustrations? And why would the hoax still be fooling the world 600 years later? If the Voynich Manuscript is a hoax, then it is one of the most elaborate and successful deceptions in history, and that raises a different question. What if it's not a hoax at all? The ultimate question, real or fake? So where does that leave us? The Voynich Manuscript is either a real book with hidden knowledge, written in a language that we have yet to understand, a medieval con created to trick wealthy collectors into buying a book of secrets. If it is real, then it means there is a lost language, a forgotten script, or a hidden code that we have yet to decipher. If it is fake, then it means someone in medieval Europe successfully created the world's most enduring hoax. A book that has fooled experts, AI, and scholars for centuries. Which do you believe? Is the Voynich Manuscript a lost piece of history, or is it simply an expensive joke that went too far? The mystery continues, and in the next chapter we will explore the wildest and most fascinating theories about what the book could really be. Because whether it's real or fake, one thing is certain: the Voynich Manuscript refuses to be understood. The most popular explanations over the years, countless theories have been proposed to explain the Voynich Manuscript's origins, purpose, and meaning. Some theories are based on scientific analysis, while others dive into the realm of the supernatural, the extraterrestrial, and the unexplainable. Could this book be a lost scientific or medical text, a secret alchemical manuscript, or something even more mysterious? Let's explore some of the most popular and fascinating explanations behind this unsolved mystery. Theory 1. A lost language or an unknown cipher. One of the most widely accepted theories is that the Voynich Manuscript is written in a forgotten or lost language, one that has never been recorded elsewhere in history. Languages have been lost before. Civilizations have vanished without leaving records. Could this be a book from one of those missing chapters of human history? Some researchers believe the manuscript might be written in a unique dialect of a medieval European language, possibly an early form of Latin, Greek, or even a long-extinct proto-language. Others suggest it could be a ciphered text, meaning the words are real, but have been encoded in a way that makes them unreadable to outsiders. But if this were true, wouldn't we have decoded it by now? If the book is written in a known language that has simply been altered or encrypted, AI and advanced code-breaking techniques should have solved it. But they haven't. Which raises another question. If the Voynich Manuscript was meant to be a secret document, why hasn't anyone in history left behind clues to its decryption? Was this book truly meant to be read, or was it meant to remain hidden forever? Theory 2. A medieval medical or herbal guide. Some researchers believe the Voynich Manuscript is a medieval medical book, possibly focusing on women's health, herbal medicine, and anatomy. The botanical section features unknown plants, leading some to believe that the book might describe a forgotten branch of medieval medicine. Additionally, the biological section, which contains drawings of naked women interacting with strange tubes and pools of liquid, has led some scholars to theorize that the book could describe fertility treatments, pregnancy, or gynecological knowledge. In medieval times, medical knowledge was often kept secret or restricted to certain groups. Could this be a coded medical text meant only for those initiated into a secret society of healers or midwives? If so, then why use a completely unknown writing system? Theory 3. An alchemical or occult text. Alchemy was a major part of medieval science. Many books from the period contained coded messages, symbolic imagery, and hidden knowledge, meant only for those trained to understand them. Some researchers believe that the Voynich Manuscript is an alchemical text, written in a secret language meant to conceal powerful knowledge about transmutation, immortality, or spiritual enlightenment. The strange circular diagrams, astrological symbols, and intricate plant illustrations suggest that the book could be a secret guide to alchemy, herbalism, and mystical transformation. But if this was a secret book for alchemists, wouldn't there be other examples of this writing system in other texts? There are thousands of surviving alchemical manuscripts from the Middle Ages, yet none of them use the same script as the Voynich Manuscript. So if this was an alchemical book, it would be the only one of its kind in existence. Was it written by a single eccentric alchemist, or is it something else entirely? Theory 4. An extraterrestrial document. One of the most controversial theories about the Voynich Manuscript is that it was not written by a human at all. Some theorists believe the book could be a record of knowledge from an extraterrestrial civilization. Supporters of this theory point to the strange botanical illustrations, suggesting that they could be depictions of alien plant life from another world. The unidentified star maps and astronomical diagrams could represent a completely different view of the universe, perhaps one from another planet or dimension. And then there's the language itself, a script that has no connection to any known writing system in human history. Could this be an alien language, written in a way that our minds are simply not wired to understand? While this theory is mostly speculative, it does raise an interesting question. If we discovered a book written in an extraterrestrial language today, would we even recognize it for what it was? Or would we dismiss it as nonsense? Just as many have dismissed the Voynich Manuscript? Theory 5. A Time Traveler's Book. A theory that has gained popularity in recent years suggests that the Voynich Manuscript might be a book from the future, one that somehow ended up in the past. According to this idea, the reason we can't read the text is because the book is written in a language that hasn't been invented yet. The strange plants, star maps, and scientific-looking diagrams could represent knowledge from a time that has not yet come to pass. If time travel were real, and someone traveled back to the 1400s carrying a book written in their own language, how would medieval people react? They would see it as a book of mysteries, filled with incomprehensible symbols and impossible knowledge. Exactly how we see the Voynich Manuscript today. Is it possible that the book is not from the past, but from the future? Theory 6. A work of pure fiction. Some scholars believe that the Voynich Manuscript is not a scientific book, not a coded text, and not a lost language, but simply a work of pure imagination. What if someone in medieval Europe decided to create an entirely fictional language and fill an entire book with it? If so, then why? Was this an artistic experiment? A personal obsession? A joke that got out of hand? There is no historical evidence of anyone else attempting something like this in the 1400s. Creating an entire book in a made-up language with over 240 pages of illustrations would have taken years of dedication. And if this was a personal project, then why preserve it so carefully? Why bind it in expensive vellum? Would someone go through this much trouble just to create nonsense? If this was meant to be a hoax, then it is one of the greatest hoaxes in human history. Which theory do you believe? After over 100 years of research, we are no closer to the truth than when we started. Is the Voynich Manuscript a coded text from an ancient civilization? Is it an alchemical book filled with hidden knowledge? Could it be a message from another world, or even another time? Or is it simply an elaborate joke that has outlived its creator? Until we decipher it, the Voynich Manuscript will remain one of the greatest literary mysteries of all time. But perhaps the biggest mystery of all is still to come. What happens if we finally decode it, and we don't like what it says? In the final chapter, we will explore where the book is today, what modern scientists are doing to unlock its secrets, and what might happen if we finally uncover its true meaning. Because whether we solve it or not, the Voynich Manuscript is more than just a book. It is a challenge to everything we think we know about history, language, and the limits of human knowledge. Where is it today, and the final mystery? The Voynich Manuscript is one of the most studied, analyzed, and debated books in history. Yet, despite more than a century of research, its meaning remains completely unknown. So, where is this mysterious book now? And will we ever unlock its secrets? The manuscript is currently housed in Yale University's Beinecke Rare Book and Manuscript Library, one of the largest collections of rare books in the world. Researchers, scholars, and cryptographers continue to study it, hoping that new technology will finally reveal its meaning. But as the years pass, the mystery remains as impenetrable as ever. Modern scientific approaches to decoding the manuscript. In recent years, scientists have applied cutting-edge techniques to analyze the Voynich Manuscript. Radiocarbon dating. In 2009, radiocarbon testing confirmed that the vellum pages of the manuscript date back to 1404 to 1438, proving that it is at least 600 years old. This means the book is not a modern forgery, but an authentic medieval document. AI and machine learning artificial intelligence has been used to try to detect hidden patterns in the text. Some studies suggest the words resemble a real but unknown language, while others claim it might be an advanced form of encoding. So far, AI has not been able to translate a single full sentence. Statistical language analysis linguists have examined the patterns of words and letters in the Voynich Manuscript. The text follows Zipf's law, a mathematical principle found in natural languages, suggesting that it was written in a structured way. However, no existing language matches its patterns completely. Multispectral imaging. Advanced imaging techniques have been used to try to reveal hidden layers of text or erased markings. No hidden writing has been found so far. Despite all these efforts, the mystery remains completely unsolved. What happens if we finally decode it? The biggest question isn't just when we will decode the Voynich Manuscript, but what will happen when we do? What if, after all these years, we discover that it contains nothing important at all? What if it is just a medieval joke, an elaborate hoax that fooled scholars for centuries? But what if it isn't? What if the Voynich Manuscript holds knowledge that was never meant to be found? Could it be a medical text, containing remedies lost to time, cures for diseases we thought were incurable? Could it reveal a forgotten language, rewriting history as we know it? Could it be a coded message, designed to be unlocked by someone in the future? Could it be a forbidden book, containing secrets that were hidden for a reason? And then there's the strangest possibility of all. What if we finally decode the Voynich Manuscript, and we don't understand what it means? What if it describes something completely beyond our comprehension? Would we even be able to recognize the truth if we saw it? The mystery that refuses to die. The Voynich Manuscript is not just a book. It is a challenge to human knowledge. It is a reminder that there are things we still do not understand, even in a world of artificial intelligence, supercomputers, and advanced cryptography. It is a window into a lost past, a book that should not exist, yet does. And it is a mystery that refuses to be solved. One day we may finally decode its secrets. But until then, the Voynich Manuscript will remain what it has always been, a book that no one can read. The Voynich Manuscript is one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of all time. For centuries, it has fascinated, frustrated, and bewildered scholars. It has defied every attempt at translation, resisted modern AI, and remained one of the most puzzling documents in human history. So what do you think? Is it a lost scientific or medical text? Is it a code that has yet to be broken? Or is it something much stranger, a book that was never meant to be understood? If you enjoyed this deep dive into the Voynich Manuscript, like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below. And remember, some mysteries are meant to stay unsolved. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and never stop searching for the truth.